What is up, everyone? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of DPF on Tap. So, guys, we made it to Season 3. We didn't get canceled, which is great news. Getting some things out of the way. So, kind of like, let's talk first about what we like drinking. So, we're drinking Yards here. Philly Standard is what I got. They have lime, they have orange, they have just beer-flavored beer, and they have the other one, which is fruit punch. So thank you to Yards for partnering up with DPF, and we appreciate that. The second is we're going to be talking about Hidden Still Spirit. So got them going across the bottom. They have a bunch of awesome bourbons, rums, tequilas, vodkas. They're just absolutely killing it. The number one PA bourbon producer in PA. Their place is awesome. It's chef quality food, just absolutely delicious. So it's our 15th year too, guys. So 2010 is when this kind of crazy DPF thing started, and our third season. So we do have a special guest who I'm going to bring on now.
Guys, I'm not getting any audio for some reason. I'm going to log out, log back in. I'll be right back.
All right. So we'll just kind of hold off on that. But Rob, if you want to kind of prompt Jason,
a lot of our followers know, anyone who watches the pod or follows the page will know that one of our own was diagnosed with colorectal cancer a few months back, and not too long. I think it was like just about 2 weeks ago on the 20th of December. Jason Myrtetus from the Fanatic 97.5 posted. It was really an open post about his own diagnosis. He had just found out, and apparently he hasn't started any of his. I don't believe so. I'll let him speak for himself. But when I saw that, and we all, we do a lot of fundraising, raising awareness for the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, which is what our buddy Mike is. Is he the one who introduced us to them, or did you guys find?
No, it was Mike. Yeah.
All right. So I just thought when I saw Jason's post and I reached out to him and I let him know who we were, and I invited him to come on the pod and say, tell us your story and let's just talk fucking sports, because he's a sports guy. He's one of us. So as soon as we clear up a little bit of technical issues, he'll be on with us, which I think that's really cool. This all came together really quickly, as these two guys can attest. And hey, Jason, there you are.
What's up, boys?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
How's it going? So first, Jason, I'm Rob. I'm the one you've been communicating with on Facebook. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
So, Jason, my name's Chris. I'm the founder of DPF. It's our 15th year, and this is our third season and first episode. So, welcome. We're really glad to have you here and talking about sports and other important topics.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm Chris Dugan. You can just call me Dugan, so no confusion with the Chris's. I'm an admin on the DPF page. Probably been maybe 7 or 8 years now. Love doing it. Love talking sports, the podcast and everything. It's just great. And we're happy to have you on.
So Rob, Chris, and Dukes.
Yeah.
I grew up playing hockey with a guy with the last name Dugan. And his dad was actually the first coach I ever had when I was in mites. Taught me how to skate, pushing a chair around the ice. And we always called him Coach Dukes. He turned into Coach Dubes because it found out he's coached a little early. Yeah, Coach Dukes.
Nice.
That was an easy transition, though.
Yeah. Right. So, Jason, I found out right before we started that you and I have actually met before. I was at Egg's wedding Eggman is, I guess, a high school classmate of yours, Caldwell.
Down in St. Augustine?
That is the case, yes. And I believe I was on the bus with you.
Oh, man.
Is what I was just told. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Wow.
So, I know you guys are right. They're still together. Good for them.
Yeah, he was the first of any of my buddies that got married. We always told him, like, the first girl that you eventually get laid to, you're going to end up marrying. I think that's what happened. But yeah, he's been together with his wife he's got 2 beautiful daughters. I haven't seen him in a little while, but yeah, I remember that wedding because I remember we flew down, me and a buddy of mine, Dave Moore. We flew down, and some of my other buddies were already there, and we got like set up at the hotel. And I don't even know if we had text messages back then. They're like, meet us at the bar, like down the street. So we walk in, and as soon as we walk in the door, there's like pitchers of beer flying, like out of the pitcher. I'm like, what is going on down here? Needless to say, the entire trip was like that.
Yeah. I pretty much blacked out from the time you guys got there until a couple of days after.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but my Buddy, you might know Buddy, but he's the one who reached out to me. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's get into it. So I know you're primarily Flyers. Mm-hmm. Now, are you a 4-for-4 Philly fan?
Of course, everybody's a 4-for-4. I was the inventor of the 4-for-4. Anthony will tell you that any chance you get. I invented 4-for-4. Trademark. Look, I think 4-for-4 is bullshit for the most part. Can we curse?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. I figured drunk Phil. So no way.
You're safe.
But I think a lot of the people that claim they're 4-for-4, it's bullshit. It's 4-for-4 pending who's good at the time. But yeah, I mean, I was born and raised here. I was raised a Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, Sixers fan, not in any particular order. That probably depended on who was good and compelling at the time. But yeah, I'm actually more like I like the Union too. I like Bernard Hopkins. I'm into everything that's from around here. So yeah, I'm a 4-for-4 guy, Bo.
Jason 6 for 6. Let's just call it 6 for 6. We're gonna add boxing in the Union to it. I appreciate that.
Well, I want to get a Formula One driver from Philly so I can be Chevy.
There you go. Nice. So stepping into the Flyers here, Jason, how do you feel this rebuild is going under Jonesy and Danny Briere?
Well, I mean, a lot of people ask me that. I'm out at the Wawa. What's going on with this rebuild? It's not going anywhere. But I think you have to listen to what they say, and they've been following along with what they said they were going to do. The problem is, as Philadelphia sports fans, it's hard because you guys all went through it. 25 years of no parades in this town. Had there not been any lockout years in there, that's 100 seasons for a town with 4 majors. So we've got a lot of scar tissue in this town, and we've also been trained in Philadelphia, and I can see why, because anytime there's been a shiny toy out there, a player that's got some cachet to his name, whether it was the right time to get him or not, these teams in Philadelphia always went out and did it. And frankly, like the Eagles are still doing it.
Yeah.
The Sixers growing up were doing that all the time. They'd always go out and get the shiny toy. They got Chris Webber. I remember people were freaking out. Oh, we got Webber. He stunk at that time in his career. But, we didn't watch much of him from Sacramento, but we remember Chris Webber. So anytime there's a shiny toy out there, the Flyers, they went out and they traded for Lindros, or, they could field a whole team of Hall of Fame guys that they had at the wrong time in their career, whether it's Dale Howardchuk or Tony Amonte. Ronick was good here, but there's a lot of guys that you get right player, wrong time. So it's tough. Where this rebuild is, I don't expect them to be further along than where they are right now, because if you consider, the salary cap situation that they're in, the contracts that they have with certain players, and dead money to boot, I wasn't expecting them to go out this offseason and find a number 1 center to play along Matvei Michkov, who came 2 years earlier. But this offseason coming up, I expect that's when you got to start moving in that direction. The beginning of a rebuild is really arduous because you're walking on a treadmill, but you're not going anywhere. And that's kind of where they've been. They finished the calendar year 2024, 2 games under 500, probably the same the year prior, maybe a little worse, but you're not really further along. But you're further along in the sense that you've got money that's going to come off, you got contracts that are going to end, and you can get into the trade market, the free agent market, not to mention, you have 6 picks in the top 45, 3 first-round picks this year. Yeah. I don't think you'll use all those. I think you use at least one of those first-rounders, maybe a second-rounder in a hockey trade to get somebody that can help you now and not a future piece. So it's kind of where I expected it to be, but, the Philly sports fans, they don't have patience. They all say, well, you need to tank and tear it down. You people don't have the patience to do that. That's a long process just to tear it down and then rebuild and hope it works.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say, harder to live.
Yeah.
So, Jason, I love John Tortorella, but I love Larry Boa too. And I think, there are these same type of hard-nosed coaches that maybe don't translate as well to the younger players today. Do you think Tortorella is going to be the coach that takes the Flyers to the next step?
Well, that's a good question. I do think he's a player that understands young players today. I think that's a common thought with guys that are, in their 60s and older coaches, that they can't relate to today's athlete. I think when Torts left Vancouver, he was there for that 1 year and then he went to Columbus. I think he started to evolve at that point. And I think after he left Columbus, sat out a year and came here, I think he's evolved even more because he's a coach. And I talk to him about this quite a bit. I do a show with him once a week, Hockey and Hounds. And, he was a guy that earlier in his career tried to control every inch of the 200 by 85 surface by positional play and playing away from the puck and checking and block, all that stuff. But he realized that the game is evolving in a direction where you've got to let skilled players, you got to loosen the leash on them. Now, that doesn't mean they can't not defend at all. There's some non-negotiables to that too, but you don't want to, put like a straitjacket on a guy with elite offensive talent by asking him to defend all the time and be below the dots in his own zone, because then you're mitigating his biggest strength.
Yep.
But he has evolved quite a bit in how he deals with players, and it's a lot more, as he says now. It's you don't just tell them what to do; you got to show them. They ask why now. Why do I need to do this? And you show film and you teach. And players come into pro sports now, I think, with higher skills but lower IQ because of like YouTube and just watching highlights and stuff like that. So. You got to teach them that part of it. Where Boa, I do agree with you. He would grade on, like, he's a tough guy on a baseball team, 162 days, games every day, and Boa will grade on you. And he's one of my favorites as well because of how hot the fire burns. And Torts is the same way. But is Torts, to your original question, this is a really long answer. But to your original, is he the guy that takes him into the next phase? I don't know. I'm a huge fan. I beat the drum for him in this town several times and was happy when they hired him. He was the right coach for that period to reestablish a standard, as he calls it, accountability. Yep. And we can see that nobody's immune to it. Accountability is either for everyone or it's for no one.
I love that. Yep.
And that's just the fact of the matter. If you start treating guys different, then your accountability goes out the window. So I think he's the right guy for where they are still now, but he's going into the final year of his deal next year. You don't want to have a lame duck coach. Do you extend him? I think part of the thinking in that's going to be, okay, if it's not Torts, who is it? Everybody says, fire the coach. If not him, who? Right? You don't fire a coach just to fire him. So who's available, is the question. Is John Cooper still in Tampa Bay? Probably, so he's not available.
Yep.
Rod Brindamore just signed an extension. Who are the guys on the sidelines that are available? Are they better for that next stage? You got to figure that out. If Mike Sullivan were to get fired in Pittsburgh, that'd be a target for me. It'd be a natural handoff. Yeah. He and Torts are very close friends. So you got to figure out who that next guy is, because Torts isn't going to be here in 4 years. I can guarantee that. I think there's a chance this offseason, coin flip, that he moves into a senior advisory role and they bring in the next coach, provided the right guy's available.
Yep.
Yeah, I concur. I think it's hard. Hockey is the one sport where the fans do, but front offices have for a long time thought fire the coach because you can't fire all the players.
Well, you know why they fire the coaches so often in hockey? Because it works.
A lot of times it lets that fire, right?
You see it. The average tenure of an NHL coach, I think, is 2.4 seasons, which is gross, right? I mean, that's horrible job security. Right. But why do they do it? Because it works. And I have a theory on it. Here's my theory. I don't have any scientific basis for this other than that I coached for 20 plus years after, coaching youth hockey and high school hockey, and that I played the game for so long as well. When you're growing up, especially higher level players, they don't just get the dad as a coach on the team, and he coaches you every year from mite through midget. The higher end players that play like tier 1 and top youth hockey, the coach isn't a parent. They have like a legit good coach, and every 2 years you get a new coach as you level up. You go from your Pee-wee coach, then you get your Bantam coach for 2 years, then you get your midget coach and your junior coach. So you're getting a different voice every 2 years. So I think that plays into it as well, why it works. But Torts is bucks that trend. Everybody thinks, oh, he's going to wear the players out. He'll be gone soon anyway. Torts' average length of tenure is 4.25 years, and that's with a 1 year stay in Vancouver. Take that out, it's over 5 years.
Wow.
So he's not a guy that burns himself out quickly. I mean, he was in Columbus for 6 years. He was with the Rangers for 6 years, and he was with Tampa Bay, I think, for 5. So he's got some long tenures in there. He drives them hard, but a lot of players may not like it when they're in it, but a lot of them look back on it and say, he allowed me to break down some walls that I didn't think I could break down as far as, my execution on the ice and the player I could become.
Yeah, you look at his numbers and they speak for themselves. Like, you don't have to like your boss. You just have to respect him and do what he says.
Yeah.
Now, kind of pivoting to, like, we're talking about the Flyers rebuild. The Phillies have already done their rebuild. Now they're just trying to buy pieces. But they haven't really done a whole lot. I mean, Luzardo, I think, is a good pickup. But what do you think they need to do before opening day?
Well, I mean, look, baseball is all predicated on pitching, right? You got to have good starting pitching, and you got to have a good bullpen, especially in today's game, because, you turn it over to the bullpen because of pitch counts and everything more than, they did 20, 30 years ago. So you've got to have that element. You've got to be strong. You got to have 3 to start a season, 3 good starters, a pretty good starter, and a 5th guy that you can get away with. Maybe if you're a team that can slug, you can out hit what he gives up. So that's number one. And then obviously you got to have a good bullpen, and you got to be good up the middle. The thing is with baseball now, it's so crazy that it's like diet NBA, where the best players just they take these enormous deals, and I don't blame them. I mean, you look at what Soto got. I mean, that's absurd what he got. But if you want to compete at that level, like, you can get all the high priced players you want, but if you don't have pitching, it doesn't matter. Like, I look at the Mets and I go, okay, now that are they going to be the team? I don't see it there yet. They got more work to do. So it's one of those sports too, where I know everybody wants change because they came up short again. But sometimes the best thing to do is run it back, per se, make some incremental improvements to little things. Sometimes turn out to be big answers. You grab a guy and you put him in your lineup, and it slots everything differently. And the way they come in, and if the team performs well out of the gate, you can ride that for a while. Ultimately, it finds its level in baseball. So I'm not like freaking out over them, because I think they have some really important pieces. And if anything, we've seen baseball players move in season, significant player moves in season. I think you can improve your team then as well. But everybody, again, back to what we originally talked about. When there's a shiny object out there, Philly sports fans, they when they don't get it, they act like they lost something, even though they never had it, because they're so used to getting it. That's heartbreaking, right?
Yeah.
And then you overcorrect the steering wheel and you go the other way. Oh my God, we didn't get this guy. We're gonna stink. Trade everybody. That's the mentality of the old Philadelphia sports fan. But look, I say with this team, get into the season, see what you got, see how these little changes affect the overall group, because I don't think momentum and styles and trends of a team carry year to year. I think it's something you have to rebuild in a season, and you may realize that you need something different than you think right now.
Yeah.
Nice. Sticking with baseball, what's your feeling on this deferred money that the Dodgers are doing? I think it's bad for the game. It's almost like they're just building a super team out there, and they're not paying anybody for 10 years. Even some of their smaller deals, they signed, Teoscar Hernandez for a 3-year deal, but they deferred $25 million of it, 6-7 years down the line. I just don't think it's good for baseball to have one of those super teams like that.
Look, if you can have a super team, but you got to pay them all at that time. Deferring money that's like living on a credit card, right?
Yeah.
You can spend, but eventually the credit card bill comes due, and with interest. It's hard in baseball, though, because you've got markets like LA, like New York, like Chicago, where they have an endless supply of money to spend. I mean, the amount of money that these clubs are making, like people look at Soto's contract and how can you, nobody's worth that. No, nobody is. But I can tell you one thing, the owners are taking home way more.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's like you've got this well of, bottomless well of cash. So you can do that. You go, okay, I'll take the pain later. I don't even know why they would defer it. Like there's no cap.
Right.
I don't get the point in deferring it, other than maybe to satisfy an owner. But I don't think that's a good thing to bring into sports, is deferring money like that. Like you can backload contracts, but the deferment to me is kind of out of the spirit of the sport to me. We're gonna pay like Bobby Bonilla all this money until he's 52 and in a wheelchair. Like that was kind of the first taste of that, right? So I don't like that. Super teams in sports. That's why I think baseball needs a cap to level the playing field. Teams like Pittsburgh, they're never going to be able to compete because they just don't have the same. They're not shopping at the same stores.
Right. And when their players reach that level, like Skeens is going to be on the Yankees or the Dodgers or somewhere in 2-3 years.
I mean, go all the way back to Bonds and they all left because they couldn't get paid there. So they would draft and develop good players every year. And outside of the early 90s, late 80s. When they couldn't keep up with the Joneses from a cash standpoint, all the players leave and go for the payday. And I don't blame the players, but the league's got to find a way to even the playing field a little bit. Revenue sharing, they're going to have to do it. But the most powerful owners in the sport are the ones that are going to have to share more money to the less powerful owners. And that's a hard thing to get passed through.
Right.
Very true.
Especially in a game that's been so resistant to change. I mean, God forbid you fuck with baseball, right? They finally put a pitch clock in, and we've only been saying to do this for 100 years. Jason Stark put out an article. It was about 2017. I remember I used to argue with Missinelli about this all the time because he was like, you can't mess with baseball. It's timeless. I'm like, it sucks. There's nothing happening. You're literally going to watch the grass grow. And Jason Stark had put out an article. This is at the height of launch angles and all that bullshit and analytics. And the ball was in play an average of every 9.5 minutes of real time. And it was in play an average of like 6 times in a game. I'm like, what are we watching here? We're going to watch the grass grow.
Exactly.
So you had to put some action back into the game. And, I used to argue with Mike about the shift. I'm like, this shift is ridiculous. It's sucked the life out of the game. It's the reason for launch angles and all that stuff. So once they did that, they got more action back in the game. And now I think the game could have a renaissance again because, I want to go there and see stuff happen. I want to see guys digging for third and get thrown out. Plays at the plate, some risk. I don't want to see a guy managing with a calculator. Like Gabe Kapler with, oh my. Remember that dude? Like, I like the ice cream and oh my body.
We called him Tan Dick, Jason. So
yeah, I always thought he sounded like a mixture of Tom Brady and George Takei.
Oh yeah, he does. Oh my.
Oh my. So it was funny. I was down at spring training one year with Mike doing the show, and that was after I busted out the oh my, like the whole imitation of him. And there was a guy that always called into our radio show. Jason, it's Gabriel. And I'm down at spring training, and I'm in the clubhouse, and I forget who the player was that came up to me, but somebody came up to me and goes, yo, are you the guy on the radio that does Gabe? I go, what do you mean? He goes, the impression of Gabe, the oh my guy. I go, oh. I go, yeah. And he's like, don't ever stop. I'm like, ooh, no.
That's awesome.
Jason, I think that there are. Who's that?
I think that's my house.
All right. I think that there is. I believe in curses. I didn't, but there's the Babe Ruth curse. There is the curse of the Billy Goat with the Cubs. There was the curse in Philly when we had to put Billy Penn on Liberty One. Are the Flyers goaltending cursed?
It's a good question. I don't know if cursed is the right word. They've actually, everybody kind of cites it back to Hextall Part 1. His first tenure here was the last time they had a legit, franchise goaltender. I disagree with that because I think there have been some guys, Czech Monik had a couple of really good years.
Bobrovsky,
And Bob didn't play a ton because they were in that weird position, and then they brought in Brizgalov, which is why Bobrovsky said, I'm not going to sign an extension here. You just signed this clown
Yeah.
to this long deal. So I want to try and start. So they had to trade him. And, Brizgalov was deemed by the owner to come in because they just had that playoff series where they were just throwing guys in there and they couldn't stop a beach ball. Steve Mason, if you look at his numbers, was actually very good for the Flyers. He didn't get beyond the first round of the playoffs, though, and that's really how we measure, players in this town is what do you do in the playoffs? Regular season, good for you. I salute, but you got to perform in the playoffs. And even though Mace was really good the one year they went 7 against the Rangers in that series, and it wasn't his fault they didn't get out, but you get lumped in. So they've had to. Bush in his rookie year was really good for the Flyers. You look at 2010 and they go to the Cup final with that tandem of, Ray Emery was in that year. Michael Leighton Bush was in that year as well. And ultimately Leighton, Leighton had 3 shutouts.
He stood on his head
against Montreal to get in the conference final. He had
awesome.
3 goose eggs in 5 games. Just in the final, both he and Niemi stunk. So it's a tough position, man. It's the hardest one to kind of forecast development. But look, I'm kind of torn. Do you want a goalie in today's salary capped NHL that you got to pay, $8-9 million to, or do you want to try and find that guy who's good enough to get you to the playoffs and you hope that he can get on a crest and ride the wave for the playoffs like Aiden Hill did with Vegas or Braden Holtby did with the Caps?
Yeah.
Or, you see some teams like Florida wins last year with Bobrovsky. 2 years ago in the playoffs, Bobrovsky didn't start in the beginning of the playoffs. It was Alex Lyon who saved their season. And eventually they turned it over to him. But you got to figure that out. That's like the position in football. If you don't have a quarterback, you're looking for it. And I think the Flyers are looking for it again now. Erson's good when he's healthy. His raw numbers aren't good, but you have to consider what's in front of him as well. That's the other part of the consideration you have to look at.
Exactly.
Teams in the NHL, not every shot is created equal. I bring this up all the time. Doug Waite coached the Islanders, I think it was 2016 or 2017, and the Islanders gave up the most goals in the NHL with Thomas Greiss and Jaro Halak as their goalie. And everybody was like, these goalies stink. We're going nowhere. Well, Waite got fired, and they hired Barry Trotz after he left Washington and won the Cup. The next year with Barry Trotz's system and his environment for the goaltenders, those same 2 goalies gave up the least amount of goals in the NHL. They shaved 110 goals year to year because of the environment. So, you got to have a good environment for the goalie too.
Yeah, it seems like every time they get a goalie, their defense just in front of them, they give up too many shots. They're not knocking.
It's not about
down
shots. It's never about shots. It's never about quantity. It's about quality. Give up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Any goalie will take. Give me 40 shots and with 36 cookies, and I'll take it. I'd
Right,
rather
shoot it right into my chest all you want.
Yeah. Clear-sighted shots from the outside, pitch and catch with the old man in the backyard. We'll take 100 of those. The harder ones are when you see 24 shots, but you got 11 high-danger scoring chances. Those are the nightmares.
So we live in the era kind of like the 24-hour news cycle. With journalists, commentators, like we have to be constantly updating social feeds, and you put up a podcast every day, I believe. Like it's nonstop, and there's always something happening in between. So I went digging, and I have to be honest, you're kind of a hard guy to find stuff about other than like what's going on right now. But I did pull up an article from 18, and I found the 4 takes on here. It's about hot takes. I don't know if I'll bring them up and you'll probably remember them. The first one you already mentioned was like the small minority of idiot fans in Philadelphia who punch horses and lick dog crap or lick horse shit. Throw
They make
stuff.
it easy for the national media to taint everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this article was about you and Harry Mays, and I was just wondering, like, which one of these takes were yours? Was that your take?
That sounds like something I would say. Yeah, I think Harry and I would agree with that on that too.
Yeah. The other one, and I think you already addressed this, but you said, and it was kind of forward seeing, Baseball will slowly and begrudgingly find more ways to speed up the game and make the presentation less boring because it has to.
That was definitely me. That was 2018 when I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the article
that's
says.
definitely me. Yeah,
That's omniscient. That's awesome,
Yeah.
Jason.
All right, so I got two more. The first one we'll just go. The least likely team to win a title in the next decade was the Phillies, which figure that's going to be 7
They
years.
got to a
soon.
World Series, so that was a bad prediction by me.
Well, here's
Eagles
the
got to a
bad
Super
one.
Bowl. Yeah.
Here's the bad one now. We're going to see if you stand up, if you still stand behind this one. But it says Scott Kingery will end up being the most exciting Phillies player of this new era of Phillies baseball.
Well, I'd have to turn back a clock and change a lot of things. Yeah. he looked like a gamer early on, though. But you know what? When did they sign him to that contract that they didn't have to sign him to? 2019?
I think it was 19. Yeah.
Yep. And when they signed him to that, I go, what are you doing? You just took the ass out of the player. You did. You took all his hunger away. Yep. You gave him something way before he earned it and deserved it.
Yep.
And that, to me, that's a good way to ruin a player. Just hand him a shitload of dough at that age. Never.
Yeah, especially before he's earned it. So
yeah, I mean, I was hoping he was going to be like a Chase Utley, you know?
Everyone thought it, man.
Yeah.
You know, so you could have just blamed that on Harry, but I appreciate the fact that you blamed that one.
I mean, Harry might have said that, but I did like Kingery a lot.
Seriously, I think we all did.
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing not to like at that point. And, you know, for me, like, I make some wrong prognosticators. There's guys that I've thought weren't going to be, like when Doug Peterson came in as the coach. I said on the show when I was working, this guy's a half a Stu-Nod.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't figure out how to work the electric car door opener to unlock the car. You know what I mean? He was a half a Stu-Nod. I created the Doug Peterson Stu-Nod meter. He went on and won a Super Bowl. So I had to admit I was wrong there. Yeah, there's been guys I've been wrong about before. I'm not like Mike, where Mike won't ever admit he was wrong. I've had some wrong ones over the year. I thought Anthony Stolarz would never be an NHL goalie. He's been great. So there's guys that I've missed on.
That's true. That's true.
Mine was Shane Victorino. I thought he was just going to be a super sub. I never expected him to be an everyday center fielder on a World Series winning team.
Well, you know why though? It goes back to slotting. He slotted in that team perfect.
Yeah,
they didn't ask him to do too much because you had other guys that you could ask to do that, like Utley, Rollins, and Howard. Right?
Yeah.
He fell into his same with Jason Worth. They fell into the perfect spot.
Yeah.
And they fell into the spot where they were most suited to succeed. And that's a key in building rosters, is having the top end pieces to be, you know, the guys who you look to every night. And then you got to have those other guys that are willing to accept the role and be good at that role. Yeah. It's a huge element.
Yeah.
Yep.
So awesome. I don't know how long you got, how long you can stay on, but
I can stay like 10 more minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, how about we get into what's going on with you, because we haven't really talked about that, and it's something that's near and dear to our hearts. And the reason that I reached out to you, like, do you want to talk about your diagnosis and how you found out and those circumstances?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously I went public with it, and I did for a reason. I thought that by me going public with it, that I could maybe help some other people that maybe have symptoms, or, you know, I could goose them along to get a colonoscopy, and, you know, if they have it, find it sooner. Just so everybody knows, I have colorectal cancer. I was diagnosed 2 weeks ago today. I was having issues like GI issues for about 6 or 7 months. I won't get into the gory details, but let's just say they were unpleasant. And I was running to the bathroom at times up to almost 30 times a day over the summer. And then things shifted from a diuretic state to more of a constipated state at the end of September. And I knew I wasn't feeling right. And I'd gone to my primary care doctor, and, you know, I was showing a lot of symptoms of like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, some diverticulitis. So we did some dietary changes, and that didn't help. And eventually, this is probably like 6 weeks ago now, Harry and I do an Eagles post-game show on the Locked On Network. And it was a Sunday night game. We got done at like 12:30 at night, and I got all my stuff done after the show and just crashed out down here in my studio at home and fell asleep for about 90 minutes. And I finally got up at like 5 o'clock. My wife gets up real early, and I walked upstairs, and she's like, "What are you doing up?" I'm like, "You got to take me to the ER." I was just in a ton of distress and pain. So I went to the ER, and they did blood work, which came back negative. They did a CAT scan, which came back clean, but did show some inflammation in my colon. So I was able to get my GI or my colonoscopy appointment moved up because of that, because I couldn't get it till February. I made it in like late August, and I couldn't get it till mid-February, which is insane.
Yeah.
So because I was in the hospital, they moved it up, and I went and had the colonoscopy about 3 weeks ago, or I guess like 2.5 weeks ago, and they took out a couple polyps, which were fine, normal, but they found a 5-centimeter tumor just north of my asshole, just above my rectum. Which they sent pathology in for, and 2 days later, 2 weeks ago today, I received the confirmation that it was colorectal cancer. The day after the colonoscopy, before the pathology came in, they sent me for a rush CT scan of my abdomen, which also came back clean. So the CT scan of my chest and my abdomen were clean. And then last Friday, I had an MRI of my pelvis to kind of determine staging and how we're going to, take this thing on. And they've determined that basically what I have is called, it's the first part is 3. So I don't know if that's stage 3. That's predicated on the size of the lesion. And then I'm T2. I don't have, L2. So T3, L2, because of the proximity to lymph nodes, even though I don't have any lymph node involvement right now. And then M0. And the M0 is a big one because that's metastasis, which means spread. I have 0 spread. So that's very good news. So what I believe we're going to do, and I have appointments on Saturday and Monday, we're going to do 12 weeks of chemo and radiation concurrently to kind of throw the kitchen sink at it, shrink it a little bit in that time, and then go in and do the surgery to remove some margins in my colon and probably some lymph nodes. And then hopefully I'll be on my way. But I'm going to have to do chemo every 6 treatments. It's every other week for 3 months. And then the radiation's 5 days a week. So I've got to go in there every day. So that's what I'm looking at. It's been, it's weird. Like, I wasn't looking for a fight.
Right.
I certainly wasn't looking for this one. I have no problem throwing down with some people and arguing and all that stuff. But I wasn't looking for it. But this is the one I got. So you might as well win it, number one. And obviously, it's incredibly humbling when you hear that you tested positive. Like when the doctor called me, like I think I kind of knew, like I knew I wasn't feeling right, and this wasn't just something out of the ordinary. So, I'm ready to go, and I think the support that I've gotten has been unbelievable. From people I know, obviously, family, friends, and acquaintances, and all of that. To people I don't know, people that just maybe listen to me or have listened to me over the years. I mean, when I tell you I got over 400 DMs, I'm not kidding, and about another 400 emails, and I've tried to respond to all of them. I figure if people take the time to write me, I can at least dignify them with a response. So it's been overwhelming. I spent 45 minutes on the phone yesterday with Eddie Olczyk, who went through this battle in 2018, and he had heard about it and told Bush at the Winter Classic, have him call me tomorrow. I'm going to talk to him. So it was great to talk to him, and it's been humbling, and Flyers have been great. And I got the day I announced my diagnosis, I got a call from Dan Hilferty and Danny Briere, and Torts and I communicate quite often. So it's been humbling, but I'm ready to take it on. My gloves are already off. As goalies, we didn't fight very much. And certainly we didn't drop our gloves when he did. Maybe we dropped our trapper, but we weren't dropping that blocker because you could do some damage with the blocker.
Damn right.
Jason, I think it's like courageous, and I appreciate you like sharing this message. And
Absolutely.
as Rob said, like it's close to our heart because we have a guy on our show that's going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, one of the things we're trying to get out there, like you said, is the message. Like if you're 45 or older, go get that colonoscopy. Go do the, shit in the box thing, figure it out, because the earlier you can kind of like sort this out, the better stage you are. And like M0, that's like a beautiful, you're going to beat this, but that's like a great thing to hear with that M0. One of the things we're doing, we're selling a bunch of merch, but there is merch that we're selling specifically where we're donating 100% to the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. So Mike, our guy who's currently battling and going to win, connected with them. So it's something that like I think is like important to like we're not only have the platform and the audience to share the message, but it's also like good to like do something for it, monetarily, and you're getting cool shirts. So I just wanted to kind of like, call that out. And Jason, I appreciate you coming on and being so open and talking about this, because guys, we don't want to go to the doctor, right? Until it's too late. And
I'm 52. I should have gone earlier. I
Yeah.
really should have. But I was one of those guys, and nothing bad's going to happen to me.
Yep.
Right. And you put it off. Had I gone when I was 45, 48, maybe it would have just been a polyp at that point, and they'd have taken it out, and I wouldn't have had to go through this.
Yeah.
But I can't look back on that now. What I can do is tell people when you get to 45, because there's a lot of people in that 45 to 55 age range that are going to end up where I am. Do it. The colonoscopy sucks. Like the actual procedure is nothing because you just go off to La La Land.
Yeah.
The prep sucks. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say the prep is great unless you really enjoy shitting your brains out. That's basically what you do. You take a lot of laxatives and, you're drinking 64 ounces of Miralax and Gatorade, and eventually the levee breaks and you're on the toilet all night. But, go get it done, because the alternative is not ideal. You suffer one night of shitting your brains out. And look, it's good just to clean your system out every once in a while.
True that.
When I was doing the prep for the colonoscopy, here's a funny story. Like, I've always been really transparent about my off-the-air life, so this is not an issue for me. And my wife's used to it. She signed up for it, unfortunately. But she comes into the bedroom in the morning at like 8 o'clock. So I took for Dulcolax at 6 p.m. Started drinking the 64 ounces of Miralax at 8. The levee broke at 11:30, and I'm just crapping all night, right? And then I have to drink more in the morning. And she comes in around 8:30 in the morning. She's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm all right. I slept about 90 minutes." And she looks in the bathroom, and she goes, "We used to have this long basket next to the toilet with like extra toilet paper and shit in it." She goes, "Where's the basket?" I go, "What basket?" She goes, "The basket in the bathroom." I go, "What basket are you talking about?" She's like, "Where's the basket?" I said, "I shit in it." "How did you shit in the basket?" I go, "I didn't get my ass to the seat in time. And, it just flies out of you. And I shit in it. It was like a wicker basket. I shit in it." She goes, "Well, where is it?" I go, "It's on the front yard." She goes, "How did it get on the front yard?" I go, "I didn't know what to do with it. That's why I threw it out the window." She looks out the window, and there's a big, long wicker basket with shit in it on the front yard. So, gotta have a little levity.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. So yeah, I'm going to attack it and get after it, and
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do now, but I'm going to chronicle it somehow, and how I'm going to go about that, and tell the story as it happens, and hopefully it helps people, because I know that people are helping me, so it's the least I can do.
Yep. Well, keep us informed, or Rob informed. I know you guys are in contact, because we'd like to, help, and I know that you're going through the same thing as Mike, so it's incredibly close to us. I know you guys
accentuating it too. Like, I think it's awesome.
Yep. We know you have the Flyers game tonight and other stuff to do. So, Jason, we appreciate you being on and staying a little bit longer. So thank you so much. And we wish you your best in your journey, and it's going to be good. You got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got this.
Flyers Vegas tonight. We'll see if they can
Yes,
get it done.
let's go Flyers. Oh, and we also have a drunk Flyers fans page. Yeah. So here it is.
Nice.
So the drunk empire is 5 for 5.
Okay, so you have the 4 majors and you have the union.
Yeah,
Yes.
Chris does the union. Yeah.
Yep.
So
all right, get a drunk F1 page going then too. Drinking an F1 always good.
we can start that. But thank you so much for reaching back out to
Jason.
me and coming on. And I'll be in touch.
When I'm well, guys, we'll do it again.
Awesome.
Great, man.
Best of luck, Jason.
We're waiting for it.
What's your buddy's name again that's fighting it?
Mike,
keep fighting, brother. I'm going to be fighting right alongside you, man. Let's absolutely kick some ass.
love it.
Definitely.
Like, this thing snuck in the back door, but you can't stay. You gotta go.
That's right.
Thanks, boys.
All
Best of
right.
luck, Jason.
Thank
Thank you.
All right. So that was awesome. What a great dude. Battling thing that's close to us. Let's talk a little bit about Philly stuff now. So Max Kepler, I want to kind of talk about Max Kepler, but first I want to kind of talk about what the Phillies said. So he's the starting left fielder. He's never played left field. He's horrendous against left-handers. The numbers, and I'll just give it to you, is he is 221 batting average lifetime and a 665 OPS against left-handed pitchers. This dude is not starting every day. I don't know if it's Weston Wilson or it's someone else, but guess what? And we've talked about this before. We got Trey Turner, and this dude is like, and I'm going to put this into perspective because I think when you kind of think of sports stuff, you don't put it into great perspective. Trey Turner, when we got him, was that high school crush that never gave you the time of day. Never gave you the time of day, and you were always thinking about that crush, right? And then years later, you get this crush. She's fat, has 4 kids, and is ugly. And that's what we got with Trey Turner. But there's Ozempic, there's Wegovy, he can hit himself up with a little bit some. And you know what? If this dude's an elite defender. So if he's in left field playing every other day or only against right-handers and it's Weston Wilson or, I don't know, someone else who's right-handed, are we in that bad of shape? And this is more me being like, I know we're not doing anything else, so I'm trying to make the best of it. Because I wanted to say fuck Max Kepler. Like, that's what I wanted to say is like, this dude's horseshit. He's not good. What are we thinking? What are they saying that he's going to be playing? But what do you guys think about? Talk about your high school crush if you want.
I think, the reason that we needed to make a move in the outfield is because of Marsh's struggles against left-handed pitching. And we basically just brought in Marsh's body double. He's the same guy. So you're back in a situation now where you're going to have possible platoon in left field, platoon in center field, and Castellanos in right field. Now Kepler is a plus defender. He's a Gold Glove winner in right field, so he's going to have no problem making the transition defensively to left field. I'm sure he'll be a lead out there. But
if Burrow can play there,
yeah, Burrow, Lazinski, they all, even goddamn Schwarber gets out there every once in a while. But he'll be fantastic in left. But I am concerned with another guy who struggles against left-handed pitching because our lineup is heavy with left-handed hitters with Harper and Schwarber already, Stott, Marsh when he's in there. So you're looking at maybe having 5 left-handed starters in your lineup almost every day, and 2 of them can't hit lefties. So it's not. I like Kepler. I thought when he was coming here, he was going to be that bench piece guy, that rotational outfielder. But when they came out and said he's going to be an everyday outfielder, I just don't think we're any better. The signing doesn't, as a bench player, I think it's a great signing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to be an everyday player, I'm not on board. You're on mute, Butch.
You're on mute, Butch.
Sorry. Yeah, he's definitely a depth piece versus like an everyday guy. And we said, Chris said it's because of Marsh can't hit lefties. Well, if Rojas could hit it all, I think we could have we could have an everyday center fielder because his defense is that good.
Butcher, you're talking about the Dominican League MVP or Rookie of the Year.
That used to mean something, didn't it? So going back to the high school thing, like you got to dance with the girl you brought. So we don't necessarily like it, but like we absolutely have to. Like we have to embrace it, meaning we'll probably have a fucking nickname for him. Chris, you'll come up with something before fucking opening day.
Yeah.
And we'll just spew hate towards him if he doesn't perform, which, yeah.
He's a left-handed Whit Merrifield, but we'll see.
A little more pop, I think, than Merrifield, but
yeah,
malcontent too.
Yeah, I'm a little suspect of him starting every day. But another acquisition the Phillies made is this Jesus Luzardo. And he's a guy that I'm actually kind of excited about. So the Phillies, he's 27 years old. The Phillies traded Starlin Caba and Marion Boyd to the Marlins in exchange for Luzardo. He is coming off some injuries. Last year, he dealt with a couple different injuries. In April, he was dealing with an elbow issue. And in June, which eventually shut him down, he had a back issue. So he struggled last year. I think he only made, he only made 12 starts last year. But in the 2 previous years, when he was fully healthy and made his full turns through the rotation, win-loss record wasn't great, but then again, he was playing for the Marlins. But this guy, 3.5 ERA, 3.32 ERA, and he's a guy who strikes out 10+ batters per 9 innings. He's a young kid with 2 more years of control before he becomes a free agent. I think he made $5.5 million last year, and the Phillies signed him when they brought him over for an $8.6 million deal 1 year, and then he'll have 2 more arbitration years left that the Phillies will control him. But some of the things that I'm reading about him is that he's got an exceptional arsenal featuring a great fastball, an outstanding changeup, and a solid curveball. So he's a guy, and when I'm looking at the Phillies rotation, the projected rotation of Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez, and now Luzardo, I'm wondering if they're not going to do something where they split up these. You're not going to want 3 lefties going back to back to back. So it may be a situation where you have Wheeler 1, maybe a Sanchez as a 2, Nola as your 3, and then however it shakes out between Ranger and Luzardo. And then you always have Painter waiting in the wings that, we probably won't see till sometime in July with limited innings. But I'm excited about this kid Luzardo. He's another guy coming off an injury, so it's a little bit of a risk bringing a guy like this in. But his potential, I think, is good enough that it really deepens this Phillies rotation.
Chris, there's a couple ifs there, right? If he stays healthy, that's everyone, right?
Yeah.
But this guy, and yes, Sandy Alcantara was hurt, but this guy was the number 1 starter for a baseball team in the major leagues.
Yeah.
He was the opening day starter for someone. This dude was awesome at times.
Yes.
Unhittable at times. And one of the things, and you guys are going to be honest with me, I saw an interview, he speaks better English than me. I thought he was from somewhere else. No, he's a Floridian.
Yeah.
This dude said all the right things.
He's excited to be here.
Wants to be here. All of the right things. And I'm going to skip and go ahead. How about the rotation that we have? And Chris, you just said it. Yeah. If you add Painter to that mix and Suarez, is anywhere near first half Suarez, you're looking at Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez. It's Luzardo, and then Painter comes in, and we know he's coming May 15th. So this dude's not making the fucking open day roster. So let's just stop. We know that's happening.
Yeah, I think it's going to be later. I think it'll even be later, probably June or July. And
that's fine, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you guys know I've preached this enough. I'm a huge Christopher Sanchez guy, and I think he's only going to get better. And I can see Luzardo being that same kind of pitcher with a 95+ fastball and a nasty changeup, and the improvement that Sanchez has made with Caleb Cotham, maybe Luzardo has that same kind of renaissance coming to the Phillies, because Cotham obviously has connected well with Sanchez and has him moving the ball around. That changeup's nasty, and if he can get Luzardo to do the same thing, this rotation is going to be the best in baseball. It
was interesting. I don't know if you saw the interview, Chris. Luzardo and Painter are fairly close.
Yeah.
And I'm I even like that, because who do you bump out of the rotation? I mean, I don't know. I guess it's Suarez.
I think it's Ranger. Yeah.
Ranger. I don't know. And then, just as an aside, they signed this Joe Ross, and we were talking internally, what a swingman is. And it was funny because Mike was I don't even know what the fuck that means. Like, does it mean like, he's like, he likes girls and guys? Does it mean like, he's like a lefty and a righty? And, Joe Ross is like, he's like Walker, but paid less and probably performs better. So I think you need someone like that on your team.
Yeah.
So the Ross thing wasn't a terrible signing, right? It was a good signing. But he's
going to be one of those guys like a Junior Marte or name any other guy that used to come up, and he just is an innings guy. When you're winning by 4 runs or down by 4 runs, he's going to come in and eat you a few innings.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's how he's going to be used, and he can start in a pinch if you need him to start. He can start.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can have a couple of them, that would be ideal too. I think Suarez is odd man out. I think after the way he collapsed last year, it was alarming. Like, it was really alarming how bad he fell off, and his rise was meteoric. Like, I think once they got him out of the bullpen, they were stretching him out, and then he started, and like he was that guy. But then last year, like, it was a collapse, and I think one of our guests had said he was having too much of the wife's home cooking, and I don't know if that's going to change. So I'm anxious to see what this staff can do, and we won't know until it gets going. Like, spring training's not going to really tell us a whole lot.
Yep. Yeah. All right, boys. So I'm going to bring on John here in the bullpen. He has some segments he'd like to talk about. So welcome, John. And
hey, fellas.
The bullpen. So what's up, my man?
Hey, not much. Just want to do like a quick, like, kind of like year in review for DPF and like some resolutions I'd like to see with the team, and maybe some resolutions for DPF. We had a pretty good year this year. Starting off with opening day. Wasn't a lot of us, but there was a few of us. We got pretty much hammered. I say pretty much because I would use the word absolutely, but I don't talk about hack accounts on this page and on this podcast. So I won't say that. Yeah, I won't say that word before that word hammered. Then we had our DPF night, and we've talked numerous times about how awesome that was. Over 500 people, and we got our award. We got our nice little plaque that's hanging up in the DPF garage for raising money for Battle Brothers, which you out there helped us do by buying the T-shirts and everything like that. I did the Polar Plunge. We're doing, we're trying to raise money for Colorectal Cancer Alliance, as you know, and we're raising up. We're trying to sell merch and raise that money up until Mike rings that bell. So keep buying them shirts and keep helping out. We appreciate it. We can't do it without you. So we're very proud of that. It's a pretty good year. We're ever growing every day on the page. So whether you do word of mouth or you're sharing it or just people stumble upon our page or whatever, or they stumble upon the podcast, that's a real great thing. We're forever growing. We're up to 61,000 now people on the page, and over like 70-something thousand, probably even more on the social. So that gets better and better. It was just a very good successful year for DPF. I think we're going to do bigger and better things in the coming year. And it's our 15th anniversary of the page. And congrats to Chris for that, for founding the page, because we wouldn't be here without him. Third season of the pod just started today. So 3 years ago, I was just sitting here just wearing a cape and the hat like a nut at games. And I got asked to be a part of a podcast with you great gentlemen and Mike. And, when Sig pops on and all, and it's been nothing but fantastic. So let's keep it going. And as long as it's fun, right, fellas? If it stops being fun, it's not worth it. But we have fun. We have a blast every week, talking ball, drinking beers. I can't drink beers right now, but we'll get into that. Just what I want to see for the year coming up, just continue to grow the page in a fun way, engage with more people, interact more, maybe more events, things like that, watch parties, things like that. And we'll have more merch. Chris does a good job of putting up different ideas of like merch on our page. Like you can get everything from flags, you can get sneakers, like shirts, hats, whatever. Like everything, it's phenomenal the job he does putting that together. I want to see out of the Phillies wise, more discipline at the plate. I hope they did some work in the off season. I'm not going with the smoke and mirrors with Rojas with that Venezuelan league or whatever he was doing. Let me see if that translates in the field. But if that could help us, if he hits the ball like that in the pros this year, I want the rotation to stay healthy. You guys just mentioned Luzardo and all. That could be a very dangerous rotation. Better managing decisions by Topper. I would like to see switch the lineup up, for God's sake. Schwarber's not a leadoff hitter. Please listen to us fans. And it's been, like I said, I mentioned positives a lot for DPF. Like we had a lot of ups, but we had some downs too. We had Dugan got his damn car taken. We've had pets, family pets. Like a few of us have had family pass. Mike with his issue. I had a heart attack last month. Like I just hope for a better, healthier, and more successful year for DPF coming up. And hopefully we're on Broad Street dancing and, slamming some Philly standards, come after the World Series.
Yep. Love that. So thanks, Sean, for popping on. So sorry we didn't get to a lot of comments, but I know Harry's still on because I was just looking through them and I was like, why do we not have 1,000 FTMs tonight? And there weren't a lot, but Harry, you did it. So we appreciate that. And then a newcomer, JC. So he says, FTM, happy 15th. Guys, this is a good question. There's some free agents out there. Who do you want and why? And Dugan, we know it's Alonso, but we'll go.
I still want Bregman. I don't care. I still want Alex Bregman. I think that he changes the entire lineup if you put a hitter like that in there. I know we're never going to get him. The Phillies are done. It'll be a small move if it's anything. But my top of my wish list is Eric, and I want Hoffman back. I want Jeff Hoffman back.
So I was talking to the principal at the school where I work today, and he's a Mets fan, and he was walking down the hall, and I know. And I just said, yo, congratulations on getting Soto, and I wanted to curse him out, but he is the principal. But I said, what I want the Phillies to do, and I know, Dugan, you're so against this, but I really do want them to fucking sign Alonso. I think that would be such a great fuck you to the Mets, and I really think, I'm not an Alonso fan by any stretch of the imagination. I think that he would absolutely hit bombs in Citizens Bank, and just to stick it to the Mets. So that's my free agent wish list. I also like Bregman, but I'm not going to go into that. Let's go get the polar bear.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Bregman's the obvious one, like Dugan said. I'm going to go in a different direction. If we can't get Hoffman back, I want Tanner Scott. You can have Romano start be a setup guy, a back end guy. Give me Tanner Scott. Give me that killer back end closer, that dominant dude, and then let everybody else that just makes us more deeper. We can shift everybody around and make them back end guys, like setup guys. 6th, 7th, 8th are locked in. You know what I mean?
Yep. So
we'd all love Alonso if he comes here and hits 45 plus home runs.
Yeah.
Right.
And if he gets signed somewhere else or goes back to the Mets, fuck that dude.
Yeah, exactly.
That's easy.
Eddie Lutz, little FTM, and Caesar, he was on. He just was trying to be respectful to Jason and didn't want to do it, but he's like, here you go. Here's your FTM.
Shout out to Caesar too. He bought a koozie and some magnets to support the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. So
awesome.
Thank you, Caesar.
He's a great dude. Love him. Guys, let's wrap it up. So John, let's go to you.
I just want to say Happy New Year, everybody. I hope everybody has a better year than last year. I know it's good riddance for me personally. I I just want to see maybe Dave wake up. I know we're not going to make some earth-shattering moves, but maybe I'm liking the Romano and the Zardo moves. I know we want it more, but let's do some more moves like that. And if you're going to shatter the earth, I just mentioned a guy, Tanner Scott. We've mentioned Bregman, whatever. Just maybe bring a name in. But if not, bring guys that are going to move the needle and help us this year.
Yeah. Yeah. My true wish list for 2025 is just health for everybody. John, for you, some mental health for the rest of us. We want Mike to get better. We want Jason to get better. Anybody who's struggling with any of that. So yeah, like that's my wish. And as far as a resolution goes, like I'm just going to make this promise to the fans and to you guys and to myself to at very least stay angry and possibly become more angry.
Oh, I
Attaboy.
love that, Rob.
There you go.
Thanks. I don't want to let you guys down.
Attaboy. I just want to take a minute. My wife's grandmother had passed away a few weeks ago in December. Her funeral's next week. But the woman made it to 100 years old. So I hope that all of us have a run like my mom had, make it to 100 years old. She was a big Philly sports fan. So I know she'll be rooting on her Eagles, as she called them, her Eagles in the playoffs. So go Birds for Mama.
Fuck yeah.
Love that. So guys, on the page I put out like, hey, you know what? Like, what do you want to see more of? What do you want to see less of? And I was overwhelmed with what the response was.
Wow.
Like, I was overwhelmed. And you guys, I have to assume you were too. They're like, change nothing.
Right.
Run it back. Like nothing. And like, I think that's a testament to who we are and what we're doing. So, congratulations to that. I'm very proud of that. And I don't know what else I want for 2025 other than like, I don't know, like we're not getting younger. I want to fucking celebrate.
Yeah.
Like more than just like, hey, we got there, hey, we did this. And, it could be Broad Street could be in February, right, guys?
Oh yeah.
It's trending that way. It's looking beautiful in that way. But I want it in November,
Oh shit.
So
Let's
we'll see what
both.
happens.
Let's do both.
How about that? It's not illegal.
Right.
Right.
They've done that in other cities, haven't they?
It's possible, and fuck it. I don't know. Like, whatever the Sixers doing, like maybe they could do it. I don't know. Are they still playing here? The Union, like, I don't know if you guys follow like the Drunk Union fans page, but like they just named their coach, and I've been destroying their social media all day, like absolutely blasting them. But I want us to still have fun, and let's see what this brings. This is the doldrums, right? There's the dog days of August with baseball. This is like, we know February like 14th or 15th at start, so it's like we're just about there.
That's
We're
right.
like, this is like just the tip, and you're excited about it, right? And you're like, you're not there yet, but so I'm excited to have it start, and we'll see where it goes. So thank you, everyone, and as always, fuck the Mets. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Fuck the Mets.
Fuck the Mets.